Good morning and welcome to University Unitarian Church. This is our live streaming service on this Sunday morning. My name is Beth Chronister and I serve here as the assistant minister, and I'm here at the church building this morning with my colleague Melody Moberg, our director of religious education, and Yuly Kopkin, the pianist for today, who you probably remember, who has brought his talents to us before. On this morning we are going to be celebrating our tradition of our coming of age service, in which we recognize the young people who have experienced the coming of age throughout this year and hear from them and their faith statements as well as from their mentors. In terms of announcements this morning, in a couple of weeks we will be having our flower communion, another tradition in the spring. Since we will not be able to do this here in person, the invitation is for you to take pictures of yourselves and your families with flowers and send them in so we can have them as part of our service, as part of the slideshow. I also want to announce that Ken Munt, who you probably know, is going to be going on a grand adventure moving to Bozeman, Montana. We'll be leaving soon, and so this afternoon there will be a goodbye parting ritual and party for him at 4 p.m., and you can find out more information on the website. Thank you. Welcome to University Unitarian Church. It's good to be together.
Today is our annual Coming of Age worship service. This worship marks the culmination of a year-long rite of passage program for our 9th grade students. It marks their transition from childhood to adolescence. Our opening words today come from the hymn, When We Are Gathered. When we are gathered for a time of worship and of song, let none forget the joys and griefs that mark each path of life. And thus we reach for those who love, we reach for those who love. For youth shall pass, and time is wise, and countless seasons turn. So day by day our years increase, until at last by life released, our spirit shines like stars, our spirits shine like stars. Now let us join in singing our doxology, followed by hymn number 159, This Is My Song. Today's Time for All Ages story comes from the Sioux people. Sioux is one word used to refer to Native American people from the Dakota and Lakota tribes. The land of the Sioux is now known as Minnesota, Montana, Wyoming, and the Dakotas. This story starts at the very beginning, when the Creator brought all of creation around them. The Creator told the animals, "I have a very special gift for humankind, but I must hide it from them until they are ready." The eagle flew to the Creator and said, "Give the gift to me. I will take the gift to the moon. Humankind will never reach the gift there." The Creator considered this offer, but eventually said, "No, they will go there," and they did. Then the salmon swam to the Creator and said, "Give the gift to me. I will take it to the bottom of the sea." "No," said the Creator. "Humankind will find the gift there too." The buffalo strode up. He said, "Give the gift to me. I will bury it in the middle of the great plain." "No," said the Creator. "One day human beings will cut into the very skin of Mother Earth, and they'll find the gift before they are ready." And then the mole, who lives in the heart of great earth and sees nothing with its eyes, but sees things with its spirit, said, "Put the gift inside of humankind. If we hide it there, they will not find the gift until they are ready." "It is done," said the Creator. When children are dedicated in our church community, they are given a budding rose to symbolize their innocence and unfolding potential. When these same children graduate from high school, at their bridging ceremony, they are given a deep red rose, fully blooming and covered in thorns. This is because we can no longer protect them from the thorns of the world. Coming-of-age students who are usually in 9th grade are on the cusp of adolescence. They have known the innocence of childhood. They have known nurturing care from their families and from this church community. They are beginning to know blooming, and they are beginning to know thorns. Traditional rites of passage temporarily separate youth from their communities, giving them a challenge to overcome. This challenge usually involves both pain and solitude. And once they have moved through their challenge, the youth return to their community, where their transition from one phase of life into another is celebrated collectively. The challenge we give our coming-of-age students is a solo vigil in the wilderness. One coming-of-age mentor pointed out to me that we didn't have to work so hard to engineer a coming-of-age rite of passage experience for our children this year. And that's because our collective experience of quarantine and coronavirus has become a rite of passage in itself. These youth had to learn to sit with solitude, with the pain and uncertainty of our times. Rites of passage aren't only about transition, about learning to move through solitude and pain. Coming of age begins the process of discovering the gift that has been hidden inside of ourselves the whole time. Julie Tallard Johnson calls adolescence the thundering years. Adolescence is marked by fierce passion and deep concern for the world. In our thundering years, we can get swept away by the storm, or we can harness the power and energy of our passions to uncover the gift within.
One Sunday of each month, as part of our commitment to justice, equity, and beloved community, we share our morning offering with organizations who bring these principles to life in their work. Following these last few months, however, as the need for direct aid has increased dramatically, we are doing something a little different. In recognition of how this pandemic and economic downturn is really hurting people within our community, the Social Justice Steering Committee is encouraging the members and friends of UUC to give directly to different funds that support some of those who are hardest hit within our state. We recognize that while everyone the world over is touched by the effects of this pandemic, there is incredible variance to how people's lives and livelihoods are affected. As a reflection that has been circulated recently begins, I heard that we are all in the same boat, but it's not like that. We are in the same storm, but not in the same boat. Your ship could be shipwrecked and mine might not be, or vice versa. We recognize that there have been people in our community who have been hurting for far too long, who are now even more at risk of disease, depression, or destitution, people who hunger for both food on the table and justice, neighbors who are literally out in the storms or just barely holding on to the roof over their head. We recognize that people who are in abusive relationships are now more at risk of violence and harm within the confines of shelter in place and the impacts of rising stress on families. We know that our undocumented and immigrant siblings are excluded from the limited support coming from the federal government and is difficult to access health care. They are essential members of our communities and families and deserve to be supported as such. And finally, we also know that the local artists, the poets, actors, musicians, creators, filmmakers, writers, people who offer their creativity, often without job security or savings, have seen their opportunities for paid work disappear almost overnight. We recognize that as a church community, we are part of the wider community, an ecosystem that right now needs mutual care and collective support. A shared community has in truth always needed this renewing promise of solidarity and care in order for all to thrive. It has just become so much more apparent now. Now, I know that not everyone is in a position of giving right now, and that there are members within UUC who have seen their wages lost and are very unsure about what the future holds. And we are with you too on this morning. And I also know that there are many of you, in acknowledgement of having been spared some of the worst of this pandemic, who are asking how you can support your neighbors. And so with the support of the Social Justice Steering Committee, we offer you these 5 different pathways, 5 different funds for your own discernment about how you might give into the community right now. And the links for each of these efforts can be found on the UUC website and will be in the slideshow as well for your own research. First is food assistance through North Helpline, which is a food bank in North Seattle, which offers both food and utility assistance through their locations in Lake City Way and Bitter Lake. This food bank, like food banks across the nation, has seen a great uptick in the need for their services. The United Way Rent Relief Fund is a fund that has existed before but is now increasing to meet the increasing need for rent relief in Seattle. In the month of April alone, over 7,000 households applied for rent relief, and the monies that had been raised were allocated long before everyone had received the support they needed. Applicants for the program ranged from 16 to 92 years old, and more than 70% of the residents who applied were people of color. More than 3,300 households had children under the age of 18. So that is another way to give in support of neighbors at this time, is through the United Way Rent Relief Fund. New Beginnings is a way that you can support survivors and victims of domestic violence, a group that has seen also greater numbers during these times. And New Beginnings offers a caring, non-judgmental, individualized approach to meeting the needs of their clients. And their services include one-on-one advocacy, support groups, legal advocacy and referrals, and mental health therapy, as well as supporting and survivors in being safe in a new home or helping them keep their own home. New Beginnings. As I mentioned earlier, our undocumented community is one of the most vulnerable populations during COVID-19 in Washington state, and many are working jobs that are vulnerable to exposure to the virus or to the economic impacts. For this reason, a number of immigrant justice organizations, including the Northwest Immigrant Rights Project, One America, and Entre Hermanos, have come together to support the COVID Relief Fund for undocumented immigrants in Washington state. And they have a goal of raising up to $2 million, and you can be part of that circulation of funds happening in the state right now. And finally, the Seattle Artist Fund is a fund started by local artist and activist Ijeoma Oluo to collect and share funds for Seattle area artists, many of whom have seen their income dry up, both through the canceling of gigs and with the impact of the service industry. This fund is partnered with Langston Hughes and is committed to distributing support in an equitable manner. That was a lot of information. As you already know, there is a lot of increasing need in our community. And so on this morning and in the week ahead, I share these with you so you can do your own processing about if, how, and how much you might be able to share in this time. And I invite you to think of this not as charity. Charity is not going to make it so we all might thrive, but to think of it as an act of solidarity. That if we're going to get through this time, it will need to be together. Would you please join me now in saying the words that we say each week as we prepare to receive our offering? This church is a community of ourselves. Its energy and resources are our energy and resources. Its wealth is what we share. When we contribute to the life of this community, we affirm our lives within it. Would you please join me in singing the first two verses of This Little Light of Mine, hymn number 118.
Please join me in the spirit of prayer. We are in a timeless time, where each day blends with the one before it and the one after it. We are in limbo, in liminality, in between. And yet, laid over our experience of timelessness, linear time continues. Days, weeks, months, birthdays, holidays, anniversaries, graduations. It can be painful to mark these days as they arise on our calendars. There is so much to mourn, and yet still so much to celebrate. Today we celebrate the transition from childhood to adolescence. These children are now youth. They have come of age. May we acknowledge transitions, not ignore them because they're painful and different than we expected. Because transitions, celebrations, holidays, holy days, these are landmarks our ancestors have used for thousands of years to anchor in a turbulent world. These children are now youth. And with the blessings of breath and presence and community, may we continue to say yes to the gifts of celebration. To these imperfect words, we add the silent intentions of our hearts. May it be so, and blessed be. In many ways, coming of age is analogous to a Catholic coming of age program or a Jewish bat mitzvah or bar mitzvah. These youth are affirmed in their Unitarian Universalist identities not by memorizing sacred scripture, learning a new language, or affirming doctrines. They are affirmed in their Unitarian Universalist identities by reflecting on their values and beliefs in light of rites of passage, philosophical and religious questions, and their communities. This year, coming of age was led by me and Michael Linenberger. Each student was paired with an adult mentor from this congregation. The mentors work like doulas or chaplains, offering presence and support to their student as they transition into the thundering years of adolescence. Now you will hear faith statements from our 8 coming-of-age students. Each student will be introduced by their mentor. Midway through the faith statements, we will view a video of coming-of-age memories through movement.
Hi, my name is Megan, and it's my pleasure to introduce Sierra this morning. I'm lucky to have known Sierra since she was 9 years old. When I first joined UUC, I did not meet many people my age, but I did form some pretty incredible intergenerational friendships, and Sierra was one of these friendships. She's an old soul with an incredible spirit and a wisdom beyond her years. She's strong, passionate, independent, thoughtful, patient, has a great sense of humor, and is more talented than she'll ever know. I'm grateful for the time we've spent together in COA this year, at the ropes course, having discussions in class, hiking at Wallace Falls, shared dinners, and singing together, whether in person at the talent show or together over Zoom. It's been an honor to be her mentor this year. Here's Sierra.
When I think about what I would consider to be closest to spiritual, religious, or related to faith in general, I think of my limited understanding of the idea of death, consciousness, and infinity, and also just things that are important to me in life, like having a sense of purpose, especially through knowledge and exploration, creating beauty, and making myself and others as happy as possible. I don't believe in any God, higher power, or that people have souls, or that we are connected spiritually in some way. Some might find this very scientific belief system as something that diminishes the beauty or wonder of life, but I think the opposite. What makes life worth living for me is not that God put me here and gave me a purpose, but that I'm self-aware, I'm conscious, and I have the ability to learn about things around me and feel emotion, and it gives me purpose to be able to keep wondering about the infinite and learning and experiencing all the beauty around me. Even though I don't believe we are connected spiritually in any way, the way that we interact with each other make each other feel strong emotions of love and happiness, and that each person has their own life experiences and worldviews is something that I can be in awe of for the rest of my life. One of the hardest things I've had to deal with is accepting and trying to understand death, because I believe that all there is infinite nothingness and a loss of consciousness. This is something that has terrified me from a very young age, and the way I used to think of it was that I should just ignore that idea and stop thinking about it, not do anything in life but learn as much as I can about the world and the cosmos, but recently that has changed a little bit. Now what I think is important for me to do is realize that what outweighs the hard-to-grasp concept and that scary feeling comes with the idea of death, is that I feel lucky to be able to experience being alive, and in the short time I'm here, I want to be able to find a balance between finding a way to make myself happy and doing as much as I can to make others feel the.
Hi, I'm Eric Denny, and today it is my pleasure to introduce Ian McDaniel. I've enjoyed getting to know Ian through the Coming of Age program this year. Ian is smart, athletic, musical, and I enjoy his quiet sense of humor. I wish him the best of luck.
Good morning. Ever since I was very small, the people around me have encouraged me to think for myself and find my own answers to the hard questions. Some questions were easily answered in books, through conversations, or online, but there were always the questions that nobody seemed to be able to definitively answer. I used to assume that we just didn't know the answers yet, but over time I have realized that humans are way too complicated. The simple answers to my questions cannot exist. When I was younger, I used to think that the meaning of life would be this magical thing that would change our lives once we knew it. Though I am now reasonably sure that there is no general meaning of life for all of us, for each person there are the things that give our lives meaning. Friends, family, landscapes, sunrises, sunsets, music, and anything else that brings us joy. When you take the set of things that give life meaning for any given person and apply it to everyone, it doesn't really fit. Each person must find the meaningful things themselves. Another question I tried to get answered was if there was a God. If you ask the internet, you'll quickly find out there are a lot of people who have things to say on this topic. Personally, I can't say for sure one way or another. I think it's possible we are all more connected than we know, and I think it can be difficult to look at sunsets, canyons, mountains, and believe it was all dumb luck. But I do believe in science and humanity before anything else. If there is something out there, I doubt it'll be a man in the sky. As a kid, I was always very interested in how the world worked. I read book after book of nonfiction from the library. Though much of my reading was the kid stuff at first, I quickly transferred over to books that got at more than just the surface level. I had an attention span. Though I learned a lot, the most important thing I learned was the value of scientific truth. The respect I have for science means that it is hard for me to believe in anything in direct opposition to it. Even without a concrete, well-defined God to believe in, I know religion has a lot to offer. It brings people together for the exchange of ideas and support. It gives people a community. I think the most wonderful thing about Unitarian Universalism is that we have constructed an environment that is really good at supporting ideas and community without excluding people based on who they are. I'm proud to be a member of this fantastic, caring community. While we all have a shot at the search for happiness in our own lives, many of us, due to factors outside of our control, get more of a shot than others. Once we find the happiness and the joy this life has to offer, it becomes our duty to help others find this happiness as well. This search for meaning and each person's findings are things we all deserve from birth, and I hope I can help other people find this meaning in their lives as I find it in my own as well. We are all way more influential than we know. I believe the mystery and miracle that connect us all to one another and to this earth comes not from a force, not from a God, but from ourselves. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Liz Strauss, and I've been Ella Mulin's coming-of-age mentor. I've been so impressed by Ella. She has such a solid sense of who she is. She always strives to be her authentic self. She just doesn't accept things as they are. She questions and tries to understand why, especially when we engage in the big questions, the meaning of life and death. Who am I? What is good and evil? What is my purpose? Ella has an amazing creative energy. Acting is a big part of her life, from being in 2 theater groups and teaching acting to kids at summer camps. I had the honor of seeing her in Les Mis. It was wonderful. She also loves to write stories and do a variety of arts and crafts. These activities bring her joy, especially as we're dealing with this isolation we're experiencing from the pandemic. It has been an honor to be Ella's coming-of-age mentor as she explores what it means to grow into a youth with intention and insight. Thank you, Ella.
I believe the world is ever changing. Nothing can last forever, and there is true beauty in that. Some people hate things that they can't touch or see because it is unknown. I embrace the unknown, walk into darkness, understanding that I don't know where I'm going, but walking in anyway. I have made the decision to love the dark and the light, sadness and joy, life and death. I believe in some force that watches over us. Whether it's above or below me, or what gender it is, or whether or not it created humans, has no effect on my belief. And it embodies forgiveness, not hate or damnation. I believe the biggest obstacle in my life is myself and my doubts about myself. And only through making space in my heart for myself will I be happy. I will live and love and laugh and go through life looking towards the light and the darkness.
Morning. It's my honor to be here to introduce you to Clara Strecker this morning. She was my mentee in the Coming of Age program, and I felt so fortunate to get to know her this year and to work with her. She is warm and thoughtful and funny, and we've really enjoyed the year together. As you can imagine, it was a little different coming of age experience because of coronavirus. We didn't get to do some of the initially planned activities, which was a little bit disappointing, but Clara's really inspiring to me. She was not one to be brought down by all of that. We continued to connect virtually and sing and dance and talk deeply and most of all laugh. I really enjoyed my time with her this year. I have so much confidence in her capacity to step forward into the world, knowing who she is and always looking around her and making meaning from what she sees. I send love and warm wishes to Clara and her family. Thank you.
When I was on my vigil and I opened my letter from Katie, my mentor, she reminded me of a memory which happened on FaceTime. She wrote, "I don't think I'll ever forget your response to the moment after I asked you one of the interview questions. I think the question was the biggest one imaginable. What is the meaning of life? You took a long pause of thinking and maybe a little laugh. I wondered whether I should let you off the hook. It's so big and hard to answer, and we'd already been talking for an hour at this point. But you looked up at me, held up a finger, and said, 'Okay, just a sec, I think I've got it,' and then went on to talk clearly about some of the most meaningful aspects of being alive and being human." From that moment came my faith statement. I believe the will to live has two main components. One, to do things that fill your spirit. For example, I love to dance and honestly don't know what I would do without it because it plays such a huge part in my life. The second, which for me connects to dance, is to be with friends and loved ones. Connection and who we are connected to play a huge part in our life, at least they do in mine. Through the years, I have befriended many people. Some relationships stuck and some didn't, which I've come to learn is okay. Through the years of childhood, our minds and beliefs evolved just like ourselves. Friendships you might have had grew apart, yet I will never forget these kinds of connections because they are important for who I have become. Some friendships might be everlasting, and these I will never forget because they are kind of like an extension of myself. I also have relationships with my family. My sister, who I did everything with until she left for a year abroad. Although we might be 7,216 miles apart, the connection we have built together through thick and thin will never break. My parents, who I owe my life to, but it's more than just that. I have a connection with them through memories I will never forget and for the future that is to come. What I have learned through this year especially is that being connected, whether with family or friends or peers, is healthy and important in my life. It's hard to imagine a world alone without connection. However, in this year, 2020, I had to adjust my mindset about being with people due to the coronavirus. Don't get me wrong, I love my house and my family because they are my home. But after around 2 to 3 weeks, I saw how big of a role connection plays in my life. Although I FaceTime and talk to friends and family a lot, I just miss the day-to-day interactions with peers, neighbors, and just people walking around or even just riding the bus. Even though I don't normally pass time on buses by talking to people, it's part of an unspoken connection I didn't realize I had. Coming of age is a growing experience, learning and thinking deeply about yourself and your beliefs, but it's also connecting with other people and other generations. I can't even begin to explain how fast the connection between me and my mentor grew, let alone the whole group of mentors and mentees. It is an unbreakable bond I hope will never go away. Coming of age showed me another way connection is huge and important in my life. Thank you.
It's good.
Hi, I'm Cal Van Zee, and I've had the privilege to be Ben Reichert's mentor. When Ben's mother asked me to be his mentor, I didn't know Ben. Over the past few months, I've come to appreciate Ben's many talents: online gaming, piano, sailing, cooking, and well, his joy for life. It's my honor to introduce to you Ben Reichert.
At first, thinking about what I wanted to write about for my faith statement was daunting. A speech in front of the entire church seemed like an impossible task, so I didn't think about it. I kept it in the back of my mind, and a week before it was due, I had figured it out. I realized the most important thing to me was my community. My family, friends, mentor, and church are all responsible for helping me become who I am today. My family helps me with everything. They comfort me after a bad test, and they help me study for the next one. They tell me their life lessons so I don't have to experience the hardships they went through. My friends bring me up, give me company, help me with that math problem, and help find who I am and want to be. My mentor Cal showed me the importance of positivity and optimism. This church has shown me the importance of unwavering kindness, inclusivity, and always thinking the best of people. Doing coming of age during a season of grief and isolation brought all these lessons and made them more evident. We all need a good community to bring us up, to spend times with, and to help us through the tough ones. It is really true what they say. You get out what you put in. I believe in the strength of my communities. They have helped me develop myself and to become who I am now and who I am becoming.
Hi, Eric here again to introduce Ian Cunningham Ward. I've also enjoyed getting to know Ian through the Coming of Age program. This year, Ian is smart, athletic, musical, and I admire his ability to connect with others. I wish him the best of luck.
I'm Ian Cunningham Ward, and this year, as a part of Coming of Age, I'm going to talk about my beliefs about what I believe being a Unitarian Universalist is, and what I feel our purposes in life are. I don't think that there's a physical God, per se, a man up in the sky that is creating people, but I believe that we are all connected by something, even if it's not that person up in the sky. And all religions see it as different things. For example, Christians see it as God creating us and giving us all a purpose, and then once we die, we either go to heaven or hell. Hindu religions believe that we are all born into a role that we serve, and if you do that role well, you will be reincarnated into a more comfortable role. And us Unitarian Universalist, we believe kind of a melting pot of all those religions, drawing from the best of each of them. I believe that religion should be a thing that you don't necessarily base your life off of, but you can tap into it and use it when you're in need. If you're struggling or in a dark place or simply need guidance, I believe that you should be able to trust in something, whether it's a deity God or knowing that if you follow your purpose, life will eventually be all right. For example, having the ability to decide whether you need the reassurance of knowing that your life is under control because God made this happen, which is a traditionally Christian idea, or do you need the reassurance that if you do your purpose in life, you'll be reincarnated into a better world and everything will be all right, which is a Hindu idea. To me, what being a Unitarian is having the ability to tap into whichever religion you need at that moment and having the freedom to do so. I believe that we are too focused on how to live comfortably and easily, and that we don't get out of our comfort zones and enjoy life enough. As a freshman in high school, I've had to start thinking about what I want to do in the future and choose classes that will help me achieve that future. I'm going to use accounting as an analogy for a stereotypical job that you feel comfortable doing and can make good money but may not love. I've realized about me that I do not want to work in a dark, tiny office cubicle doing accounting, and although, yeah, I could probably earn a lot of money doing that, it's also the generic path for me. A white male living in North Seattle from a very well-off family. Sure, I can make a lot of money doing what many people do, graduating high school, going to college, getting in student debt, going to graduate school, getting in more student debt, and then slowly working my way up to a good salary by the age of 35. Chances are, it would be fun. I mean, I'd be making money, but I wouldn't love my job. Alternatively, I could do a non-generic job, for example, blogging about skiing in the mountains, or street performing music. And although those jobs might not earn as much money as working in an office doing accounting, and I might not be living as comfortable of a life, I know that I would love doing those jobs and enjoy life more. I believe that you should take risks and focus on living the life you want to live, rather than the life that others want you to live. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Catherine Holm. I had the absolute pleasure of being Layla's mentor for coming of age this year. Layla is strong, intelligent, and above all else caring, and I cannot wait to hear what she has to say. Take it away, Layla.
My beliefs are more based on facts and knowledge or things that I can see or touch. I'm always looking for evidence or proof of things. This year I've been asked to think about my purpose or the meaning of life a lot. I believe we should all try to leave this place better than we found it, and each person does this in a different way. We should all try to help people in some way during our lifetimes, and everyone should do what they believe is right, although sometimes they might need help in figuring out what that is. My dad is a college philosophy professor, and this has influenced me a lot growing up. When I was little, in addition to the traditional bedtime stories, my dad would describe famous philosophy puzzles like the trolley problem, and I would tell him what I thought the right answer was, even if there wasn't really a right answer. I've learned a lot about ethics in my lifetime, and I often consider whether actions and decisions are ethical before I make them. I'm not the most spiritual person, but I do believe that almost everything happens for a reason, and I believe in both good and bad karma. I strive to find humor in everything I do. I believe any situation can be improved with comedy, and I imagine life would be very mundane without laughter. In our lives, we all go through both wonderful and terrible experiences, as well as the ones in between. I believe the painful events are just as essential as the pleasant. If we only experienced happiness, we wouldn't really appreciate it. Sadder events bring meaning to the joyful ones and cause us to be more grateful for them. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Judith Wood, and I am honored to introduce a dancer, sister, music maker, friend, and deeply thoughtful person, Autumn Sager.
Throughout my life, I've always liked to make connections. When I was younger, I connected school to church and church to music and music to dance, and I loved to make those connections. I would point something out that reminded me of swim lessons when I was in the car, or I would hear someone say something similar to what I had learned the day before in school. Those little connections that I loved to make have grown with me. Although I still make little details in my life intertwined, the connections that have impacted me are the ones I make with others. I know more than ever that I am someone who loves to love others and to love what I do. My connections are deep and far-reaching, and I hold that close to me. One of the most important parts of my life is my relationship with my family. I grew up with smart, caring, and fun parents who supported my hobbies and encouraged me to grow and learn with as much enthusiasm as I could. I grew with older sisters who influenced me in so many amazing ways, and I continue to make lifelong memories with them every day. I believe in the strong love family creates. I want to always remember how important they are to me. I believe that everyone deserves a chance to be loved in that way. I think everyone needs a support system, and that we can learn things from those people in our life even after we are grown. I believe in art. Art connects so many people in so many different ways. Without dance, music, paintings, films, literature, and so many other kinds of art, there would be a lack of perspective. The sometimes simple expression of art can show the way someone's head works. It can show how they see the world. The sharing of different worldviews is something that I think is important for people to witness and experience. I share a bit of myself when I'm dancing in the studio, and even more so when I'm on the stage. It is just as important to view others' impressions of the world as it is to express your own and tell that side of the story. I believe in confidence, and I believe in knowing yourself. People hear compliments every day, but it never has much of an effect until you start to believe them yourself and can tell them to yourself. I think having time for yourself is needed, and without it, people would not know themselves. Once I started to believe in myself, I saw more opportunities for myself and started to set goals to not hate on the person I am now, but to improve on myself for the future. Especially now, during quarantine, it is easy to feel unmotivated, but I'm continuing to make connections. Zoom, pre-recorded dance videos, FaceTime, talking on the phone with family, making music virtually, and many other kinds of quarantine activities are now a part of my schedule, and I'm enjoying my newfound ways of connecting. I look forward to the days of seeing friendly faces, playing music and dancing, as well as maintaining my self-confidence.
Thank you, all of you, for sharing your perspectives, to the mentors and to the mentees, for bringing that wisdom to share to the congregation this morning. It is inspiring to see how deep you got into these big questions and support each other in the midst of changing circumstances. Thank you. Would you please join now in singing hymn number 311, Let It Be a Dance. To our new youth, we say this: once you were infants dependent upon love and the wisdom of others, now you are youth, entering to an adult world with increasing responsibilities for your own decision-making. Once you belonged to an environment of faith and values outside your ability to alter or reject, now you enter a world with many systems and values to take into account. Once you had few choices. Now your choices are many, sometimes frightening, and always with long-range consequences. We believe in you. We promise you our continuing friendship and share with you our hopes and labors of making this a better world. We celebrate with you your conscious choice to share fully in the ongoing life of our faith. May we continue to grow together and be witness to this faith. I close with these words from the Reverend Theodore Parker. Be ours a religion which like sunshine goes everywhere, its temple all space, its shrine the good heart, its creed all truth, its ritual works of love, its profession of faith, divine living. May it be so, and blessings on you.